Runekeeper. It's the best class, obviously, and this is why you should play it. What's going on there, everybody? We're going to be talking about the Runekeeper class. We're going to be talking about why I believe it is the best class in Lord of the Rings Online, and why anybody who is playing the game should be playing the Runekeeper. So, I hope you guys are excited for this. Runekeeper has been my main class for literally my entire time that I've been playing the game, and I absolutely love it. Yes, I know I'm level 52. We're not going to go into that, okay? Just ignore that, okay? It's not there. All right. So, first things first, we are actually going to be talking about a bit of information when it comes to creating a Runekeeper. So, when you are creating a Runekeeper, they are a part of a few different styles of combat. They can either be a healer or they can be a DPS. So, that's really kind of the only areas that they are. We're going to get into the mechanics behind the Runekeeper and how you actually play the class later on in the video. For right now, we're going to be talking about the character creation. Now, I do want to preface with this. I do not believe in playing the absolute meta. I believe in playing whatever the heck it is that you want to play. So when you are creating a Runekeeper, there are multiple different races that you can play. You can be a man, you can be a high elf, you can be a dwarf. I do believe the only class races that you are limited to is you cannot play Hobbit Runekeeper, and you cannot play Beorning Runekeeper, obviously, but I do believe that River Hobbits and Stout Axes are also able to be Runekeepers, but I'm not as familiar with those races as I don't own them. Okay, Stout Axe can. Okay, and River Hobbit can as well. Great. So, yeah, the only race that cannot play a Runekeeper is the base Hobbit, but River Hobbit can, so you can play whatever you want on that. So there are a few races that I would recommend that you would play if you are wanting to get the absolute meta. And I say absolute meta with big quotes, but I'm obviously recording this without my webcam because I want to be focused more on the game, not my beautiful face. But when talking about the absolute meta, you will want to avoid River Hobbit because they do have a seclusion breeds suspicion. They have -1 will to their stats when you are playing as a Hobbit Runekeeper. Elf, they don't have any will bonus or anything, so that doesn't really make any difference. And then man, they have +5 fate. Diminishing of man, they give you, again, -1 will, so you won't want to play a man if you're wanting to maximize all of your stats. So I would definitely recommend that if you are playing as a Runekeeper, that you play either as an elf. You can play high elf because you get a +4 maximum morale for just a little bit of extra tankiness, but honestly, out of all of these races, if you are looking for maximum meta, you're going to want to play as an elf Runekeeper, because your primary stats that you're going to need is going to be will, and you want to make sure that you are getting as maximizing the amount of will that you can, and elf will be the best option for that. So that's really kind of the only major thing that you want to know in terms of character creation when it comes to making a Runekeeper. But that's the only if you're wanting absolute meta. Otherwise, just, play what you want. It doesn't matter. Play whatever class you want. Play whatever race you want. But when playing a Runekeeper, that's the absolute meta. Again, I've said this a lot. I'm going to continue to say this. Don't worry about playing as the absolute meta. Just focus on playing what you want. Alright, so you're in game, you have your Runekeeper, and now we're going to actually talk about how you play the Runekeeper. When you are playing the Runekeeper, the main thing that you are going to be focusing on is the attunement bar that is down in the bottom left corner. That is the main gimmick of the Runekeeper. It will fill either to the left, which is more red, or it will fill all the way to the right, which is more green. And that depends on the type of spec that you are playing. If it fills more red, your damage becomes a lot more efficient. If it fills more green, your healing will become a lot more efficient. So that's something that you're going to have to be paying attention to. Now, before we actually get into what that will look like and how you want to utilize that in your mechanics, we're going to be talking about the different disciplines. So there are 3 different disciplines that you can play as a Runekeeper. There is Benediction of Peace, which is your healer, Cleansing Flame, which is damage over time and long-range DPS, and then there is Solitary Thunder, which is short-range instant damage, or just your straight DPS. If you are leveling, I will recommend that you play Solitary Thunder. That will allow you to get fast skills. It is a burst damage line, and you have a bunch of instant casts. Now, if you are raiding or wanting to maximize DPS in raids, I recommend Cleansing Flame, because that is where you will be using a lot of long range spells, so you can be out of the range of bosses and you can stack your damage over time, which will allow you to have more sustained DPS, unless you are wanting to play as a healer. If you're wanting to be a healer, then you want to run your blue line or Benediction of Peace. All right, so currently right now I have myself set up under my blue line, and you will see the more I cast my healing abilities, the more that I continue to keep the healing out, the more that my that green line is going to be filling. There are a lot of different abilities that can be used in order to keep that healing up, and that's exactly what you want to be doing. You want to continue to keep your healing up, keep that green bar moving over to the side, because the more that that's up, the better healings that you will have, and it will allow your team to stay up, because that's what your job is going to be as a healer. You want to keep your team up by just constantly throwing out heals. Okay, so that's what that looks like. You even get a warrior ally that you can continue to spam your heals onto to keep them alive. And you can see as I continue to heal him, the way that he just keeps doing what he's doing. And then you have the Rune of Restoration as a runestone that will place. You want to keep that placed around your tanks, so that way they will all stay up and alive. That is a very, very, very important part of this character and how you will be running your heals there. So you also do have a couple of out of combat healing abilities that you will want to be maximizing with. So if a party member goes down, you can use this and heal them and revive them. There's also a improved final word, which is a interruption and combat interruption and a corruption removal, and then you can also use Fates Entwined, which will buff your healing abilities. It buffs your Runekeeper and reduces incoming damage, allowing you to stay a little bit more tanky, which then allows you to then keep your heals going out on your teammates. So that's a big important part about the blue line Runekeeper. Now, if you're like me, you're a DPS guy. You want to keep out as much DPS as possible. You like to see things die, and that's where you then instead work on all of your skills. Now, I'm not spending too much time in my skill points because I'm just focusing primarily on wanting to show off skills and what those will look like for you guys as you continue to build your characters. So, when you are playing as a red line, you will have a buttload of skills that are going to be used primarily as your damage over time. So you are going to be a lot more long range with your spells, but the drawback on this is, wow, we are encountering some server lag, which is really fun for this whole thing. So when you are casting your spells, you're going to be having a lot of time where your spells are going to be taking time to do their inductions. But you'll see, even the more that I cast my spells, the more the bar on the left will be filling up. Now, I'm fighting a lot of weaker enemies for my level, so you're not going to see it filling up too much on this red line. But the goal with this class is just to stay in the spot that you need to be, so that way you can continue to place your abilities out and keep that bar moving. Again, the more that bar fills up, the more damage that you will be putting out. So that's really all there is to talk about for Redline. There's not really like a ton to go into it, but that's just something to be mindful of. Now, if you are leveling, you'll want to be running Solitary Thunder or Yellow Line, and you'll see the power that comes here. There are two primary abilities that I work towards in my Solitary Thunder, and these are what's called your finisher abilities. These will be very, very strong abilities that you will be able to use to deal a ton of damage to take care of enemies very quickly. But when you are using these abilities as well, one of the things that will happen is it will consume this bar down here. You'll be consuming your attunement bar as you are building up towards those abilities. So they are shocking words and epic conclusion. And how those work is you'll just be running around. You'll have a ton of instant cast abilities, and you can see that as I'm using each of them, all of my abilities are going out, and I'm able to deal a lot of damage quickly. And the biggest thing with these rune keepers that makes them very, very strong and for leveling is the instant casts. Because they are instant, you don't have to be stuck in a solid standing state in order to get your casting out. Instead, you can just run around, continue to shoot out your enemies, and just deal with them very quickly. You can see I use the Epic Conclusion, does thousands of damage at level 50, allowing me to deal with enemies very fast, and overall make the entirety of my job as a rune keeper a lot easier by focusing on building that attunement bar to use these finisher abilities. So those are the ones that you definitely want to be focusing on. Again, if you are just trying to level and get to max level as quickly as possible, you will want to play that yellow line. You'll want to spend your time building your attunement, and you can even see on each of these abilities, it will say attunes 3. So, or attunes 3, attunes -3, whatever that looks like. So that is something that is very important to be looking at, because you really want to make sure that you are maximizing all of your attunement abilities to try and push them one side or the other. And then when you get to those finishers, it will cost those attunements to cast, and it will do a ton of damage, allowing you to take out a lot of enemies. So that's really kind of the main things that you need to know when you are playing a Rune Keeper. Make sure you guys are paying attention to your battle attunement bar. That's going to be the thing that you are going to be spending the most amount of time with and working on, and making sure that you are maximizing. So if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. This is my first time doing a class guide for any MMORPG, so I really hope that this is helpful for you guys in learning a lot. This class is not overly complicated to pick up and learn. I genuinely think that this is one of the easier classes to pick up and play, so I definitely would recommend that you give it a shot if you have not played a Runekeeper before, or even if you are looking for a easy class to pick up and learn. The biggest thing to pay attention to is that attunement bar, and you can pick that up very quickly. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was a helpful guide, and I hope that this helps convince you to play Runekeeper. Thank you guys again for watching. You are loved, you are valued, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and we will see you right back here next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.